Finally, an FPS like the ones I remember. After 3 variable efforts at reinvigorating classic FPS mechanics by various studios, Serious Sam 3 BFE has stormed onto the market to teach the others how it's done, mostly. And I say stormed, it seemed more of a stealthy stagger. The marketing was on track until release was delayed until after Battlefield 3, Modern Warfare 3 and Skyrim, which must have hurt sales somewhat. Anyway, Serious Sam 3 pretends that the children's fantasy funland of Not So Serious Sam 2, which I enjoyed well enough, never existed and instead returns to its more serious roots. Graphically, SS3 is possible. Given the hordes of enemies it needs to render, the Serious Engine 3.5 seems very robust and attractive on ultra settings aside from some eccentricities in dealing with light and shadow. The gameplay is thankfully largely unchanged at its core. The game is set in present day during the invasion of Earth by Mental, and is a direct prequel to Serious Sam's first 2 outings set far back in time. This means that some off-putting modern day stuff has leaked into the game. They make logical sense, so it's hard to hold it against Croteam. The first corruption by its modern day setting is the instant projectile, now more common than in previous installments. I don't like seeing Croteam diminish the effectiveness of movement that comprise a player's defenses, since I fear the end result is a game that requires cover as a gameplay mechanic. The second corruption is the obligatory abandoned and ruined cityscape that features quite heavily within the early chapters of the game. Convincing, but samey, and I find myself running in circles a bit, maybe that's just me. These are minor misgivings though, and soon enough it returns to what it does best, putting you in large Egyptian ruined desert-style corridors and arenas with waves of varied enemies charging towards you, and filled with entertaining destructible terrain. As before, exploration is rewarded with silly or practical secrets, which is good because you'll need to explore for keycards. Enemies still get ridiculously huge, but it doesn't happen as often as in previous titles. Serious Sam Stone himself is as laid back and good-humoured a character as ever. His laughably casual stride, one-liners including an early nod to Painkiller, and cheerful whistling clicks wonderfully with the chaos surrounding him, as if to emphasise that Sam Stone can handle anything. I'm not actually sure what Croteam could have done to make their game resonate more. All the great elements from previous games are here, and it's arguably a better overall experience than the first 2 games if nostalgic bias could be ignored. The underground segments are creepy and mysterious and don't outstay their welcome. The music is good, the overland segments are massively open, often destructible and fun, the enemies and weapons are lavishly illustrated, almost everything seems to be spot on, so why aren't I excited? Perhaps Aeons of Death for Doom 2 has spoiled me for weapons. The weapons for Serious Sam 3 are largely fine. The hammer and the alien lasso exploder thingy are gratifying, the pistol could have done with being dual wielded, the shotgun doesn't pack much of a punch, the double-barreled shotgun likewise but for its lovely reloading action, the minigun, assault rifle and laser gun could feel a bit more powerful, the sniper weapons and rocket launcher are enjoyable and the SBC cannon is excellent as usual. There's 13 weapons altogether, but I still feel shortchanged weaponry-wise, and I can't think why. Maybe it's because I always feel outgunned? I guess I don't know how this formula is going to evolve, and evolve I feel it must. Not in any way that infringes on the core gameplay, god no, leave that alone. But there must be some way to make things die in a manner that gratifies the player more. It can start with dual wielding, beyond that I've no idea. Nonetheless, Serious Sam 3 is the only first-person shooter of recent years that I'm likely to keep on my hard drive, since the completionist within me will be inclined to play at higher difficulty levels and find more secrets, and for the survival mode, and because it's the most fun. The Metacritic scores seem to reflect reviewers who are quickly put off by a mediocre first impression, but the last 7 chapters of 12 sticks to ancient Egypt where the game is mostly seriously excellent if you like old school shooters. The 16-way cooperative and versus maps might be fun if I ever played multiplayer anything ever. Definitely not to be missed by fans of 90s shooters or of the first and second encounters. I award Serious Sam 3 the Aeons of Death arsenal and dual-wielded SBC cannons.